Okay, bell ringer. So it says divide the rational expression below. Divide the rational expression below. Remember, that's keep, change, flip. Keep, change, flip. That's our K, C, and our F. Okay, keep, change, flip. So I would keep the original. So keep x cubed over x plus 2. But then I'm going to change the division to multiplication. That's what the C means. Change it. And then I flip the second fraction. So the x squared goes on the bottom, and the 2x plus 4 goes on top. From this point forward, this will be our third day doing multiplication. For those that were here the whole time, hopefully it's getting a little better. But if not, we have one more day, which is today, to go over it one more time. So don't get worried about that. So let's take a look here. When you do these problems, you have to ask yourself, here are my colors, kind of help me out here. Which color is the only one that I can factor something out of? Blue. Okay, so what does that mean? I rewrite the things I can't factor all on a fraction here. So I can't do anything with everything else. The blue is the only one that I can factor something out. What can I factor out about 2x and 4? 2. A 2. Remember, what factor means really is what can I divide both of them by? And then I'm left with x plus 2 in the inside. Remember that factoring means, I'm going to say it so many times that you're annoyed with me. Factoring means what number or what letter or both of them can I divide all of the terms by? I can divide 2x by 2 and 4 by 2. That's what factoring is. So now we have some fun. At least I think it's fun because you cross off things, so that goes away. Now some people right away like, oh, I can just reduce the x cubed and the x squared. Think about this. I have 3 x's on top and 2 on bottom. 2 cancel. How many's left and where are we at?
X on top.
X on top. So I'm left with 1 x on top. I'm going to take my highlighter so you can see it. I'm left with x and 2. That's it. There's nothing else left. Everything else is canceled. So I'm left with 2x. Make sure you check your answers for those that are new. I give you a point for trying and a point for correcting your answers for bell ringers. Okay? Give you another 30 seconds to make sure that's all ready to go. And then once you are done, pass it all the way to Nick somehow. Okay? So Nick's your person you need to get it to. Yeah, there you go. Help each other out. Boom. The next task for you to do is to check your answer on your homework. And then we're going to cut and do some problems. We're going to do 6 problems, and then we're done. So, on the homework, go ahead and check your answers. I'm more than happy to go over any questions that you have. These were on last night, too, to make sure that you knew what was going on. Thank you. You rock. The first 2 had nothing to do with what we've been doing in the past. Okay, this is what we did way back when we were doing factory. I want you to get practice with the trinomials. We make that table. What multiplies to 8 and adds to 9 for number 1? Well, look at things. 8 plus 1 is 9. That's what I wanted. But when I multiplied them, I also get 8. Okay, so the first 2 were just those factoring ones. Now when we look below, they got a little tough. But you had to take your time. Do not rush through these problems, please. So just take a look and see how you did. Maybe you only remembered to flip the fraction. Maybe you got to here, but didn't keep going. Okay? As long as you're making progress and you're not just like, I'm done, I don't know how to do this, I'm not going to try it all. Okay? You should have been able to look back at your notes and say, I can at least flip the fraction. That's really no math involved. That's just switching the fraction. That's it. Okay, so at least get somewhere. At least make progress. Make your baby steps that way. So see how you did. Again, if you maybe just got to this piece and you didn't keep going here at 4, maybe you just got here and you stopped. Fine, at least you got somewhere. I'm not saying it's the most simplest form, but it's correct. And the last 4 down here. Do you have questions on these ones that you might want me just to briefly go over? Awesome. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do is now again when you cut and you glue, okay, I'm gonna give you about like 5 minutes to get all this done. You can talk and you can converse. 'Cause that's what I try to do on Fridays is try to get you to become like a family and try to work and just cut, glue as long as you're working and you're getting that in your interactive notebook. So I have Miguel's here. He's gonna flip to the next available page, but I'll show you some ones for my 4th hour. Okay, so you want to go ahead and cut all the solid lines and fold the dotted lines. And it's going to flip open like this. You did not pick it up, it's by the handout. So go ahead and take four minutes. It should not take that long to cut and glue. Okay, so go ahead and take 4 minutes and cut and glue. I'm going to walk around and give you this little sticker so that you're organized. And you can flip right to semester 2.
Oh, you right there.
Nice.
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you. Now we do an interactive notebook.
Edward. I think it's under the blue. That's one.
Yeah, this should be yours. Yeah. You got it? Yes, you got it. It's right here if you need it. You cut all the solid lines.
And who you work for?
Fold dotted.
I would have got you with scissors.
Oh my god. You cut it dotted. I'll give you new ones. Yes.
Your baby fish.
Roll.
That's how I the broke my skin over there. Oh yeah, and you turn back.
Alright, so 25. It's okay. It's alright. Cut all the solid lines and fold the dotted. Yeah.
Hey. The latest.
Anyways,
Yo, the way that had, you find the money. What?
I'm gonna hire you, bro. I'm gonna hire you now. Who? Alright, anyways, more than you. More than you.
Legit looks.
You know why?
What?
You know why?
What?
You got that KFC money. That Papa money. You know he worked there?
Who?
Her mom.
You worked at KFC, you worked at Popeyes, not KFC.
No, I know I'm saying he worked at Popeyes.
Okay, it wasn't Popeyes. I like the biscuits.
Bro, so I don't know.
I don't think I would ever go to Vermont's kid, Popeyes because they burned the biscuits. Like,
Which one did he work by?
I know, that's what I said.
Did you work by the one by Presto?
Yeah, the ghetto one.
That's not very ghetto.
It's gonna be ghetto.
Bunch of bikes.
2 more minutes.
Like a fight. No, it's not. Or like
Regular bicycles.
Oman's like the widest one. Oh, they threw him in the back because they didn't want to
He burned 2 trays of biscuits. That was done. I'm like, Vermont, I don't trust you with my food. Probably won't burn my food.
And what's up, Mr. Sub?
This guy said, Mr. So,
You ever been there?
that buffalo chicken fries. He said,
I'm about to be like, hey, yo, Alan, bro. Let me scoop. I
1 more minute.
don't you get your own license yet?
already got my license.
You get your own car? Nah.
And it's progress.
Nah. I'll be getting a car.
I've been saving up for a whole year now, bro.
You like only paying this year?
I don't want to own my debt.
Swear. That is pretty true.
What I showed you? Oh no, I showed him mine. Alright, hey, so this one kid asked me when he put it in the first car. And then shortly after, I'm like, hey, so he goes, Mom, I didn't tell you that, right? And then I Snapchat story, I posted, everybody getting some, I'll feed off my parents. I'm so hungry.
You know it's
I started
semester 2.
trying to look at this kid and say, we go look at that. And he was, and I'm like, you sure about that? This is that, like, man.
What was his dad? $5,000?
1 more minute.
But
So that you know that this first semester 2 starts. Ah.
have to all block for a good amount of arrows. Which would be
Also old.
the 8, 6, and the 8. Yes, something with the
I'm gonna get my G. Hey, bro.
Put that in.
I'm gonna
Do
get
that
G.
in.
the Apollo.
Do you have yours?
I would have no, it's spelled the Apollo.
Yeah, I can do that. This way, you can flip it.
It sounds literally like a muscle car. That's when you turn on the
Where?
You know what sounds like a muscle car? Mitsubishi
Where?
Eclipse.
Shoot.
That sounds like a muscle car.
I don't like
Escort. You don't like them?
I want the old one.
Hey. They suck in the winter though.
You know what that was? You ever see that Devils? You know what that is?
I seen around, but I don't know.
It's like a variable. Bro, it is off pipes on it.
Okay. All right. If you did not glue that in, I have to get one. I don't know, I have an extra, but we'll get it in there.
He went 90 on a
If you did not glue this in, please do so. You can do it now.
I don't see a glue here.
There's no more glue? You need more glue?
No, I don't know.
Be polite and give it to me in my hand.
Okay, look at mine.
But I like it the hard way.
My friend went 90 on a 40.
That's awful.
We were zooming, dude. Oh my god, I can remember what's going on. He tried over the first word and he was like,
30 more seconds.
but all you see is me, dude.
You will need a highlighter too. So if you look in your bin, you should have a highlighter in there. There should be a lot of highlighters. Go ahead and grab one. The reason why we're doing highlighters is because, remember, if you just want a little recap, you can use your interactive notebook on your exams. It's the only thing you can use. I'm going to start slowly taking that away from you as we are going through the end of the semester here. But for now, because it's a hard topic, you will be allowed to use them. Okay? So that's why we take very neat notes, especially when we're doing our interactive notebook, because you can use them on the test and the final exam. It's to help you as a little bit of a guide instead of actually taking just your study guide, which I feel like the past teachers have done. I don't like that. I think you should be able to take your own notes or take notes with me, and then we go ahead and use that. Okay, so make sure you have a highlighter and a pencil, and we'll get started here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. If you flip the first tab open, it's multiplying rational expressions. Okay, I told you that these were the 3 steps. You factor the numerator and denominator first, and then we simplify or multiply depending on who you are. Doesn't matter which one. Okay, we're not going to do all of these because dividing is just like multiplying, so we're not going to do repetitive stuff. We're only going to do 6 of them today out of the 8. So let's talk about the first one. Ready? It's okay. As long as you're happy with it, we're good.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, as long it's your interactive notebook. So, okay, here we go. This one, there's no adding or subtracting going on. I don't see any adding or subtracting. So I know that I can just multiply straight across. So let's do that. What is 2 times 9? 18. Now look, x times x. What's x times x? X squared, not 2x. Careful with that. Okay? And then the y just comes with it. Now let's do the bottom. 4 times 6, 20, 24. And then look, the x squared, I just have to write it out. And the y, I have to write it out. Because I can't multiply it to anything. But now look what happens. What cancels? Yeah, the x squared and the y. Goodbye. Now, if you really like calculators because you think it's the best thing that's ever been invented, okay? If you have a graphing calculator, which you're always more than welcome to borrow mine, and you're supposed to put your IDs up here, okay? You can press 18 divided by 24 and press math, enter if you want the shortcut. Or you have to use your brains. Is there a number that goes into both 18 and 24? Is there a number that goes into both? Not 4. 4 goes into 24, but not 18. Yeah, 6. Okay, so you can reduce this by 6 technically. So kind of make a note for yourself. You're going to divide both of them by 6. And what do you get? What's 18 divided by 6? not 4. 3, yeah. What about yeah, and then 4. Okay? Questions? This is a really good day for you to get a review, and then you have no homework and you can hang out. Okay, so let's get through what we need to. We got 5 more problems. And that's it. Because I want to make sure that you're getting this, and I want to keep practicing with you. Here we go. Let's look at this next one. You don't have to highlight this. I just want you to tell me a color in a second here. Okay, one of these only is going to factor. Which one? The blue one, very good. So all of the other ones are going to remain the same. Okay, so you can even prepare for that. You can keep everything else the same. I just like parentheses around something that has a plus sign. That's just me. Okay, but now we have to talk about this blue group because there is something I can factor out. Remember, factoring means is there something that divides into both of them?
5.
Yep, and?
4.
Well, 5. But now let's talk about the letters. Yeah, X. You see how they both have an X? So I also have to put that. So you're telling me that 5X, I can divide both of them by? Yes. So now let's go ahead and see what's left over when I divide both of them by 5X. Yes, X minus 4. And here's a great way to check that. 5X times X is 5 squared. 5X times negative 4 is negative 20X. It's a great way to check your answers. Well, now it should be kind of fun because I like to cross things out. What cancels? Yeah. Goodbye. Take your highlighter. Because again, these are your notes to help you when you're doing your exam. This is what's left. So I just write it out. Okay, so whatever I highlight, that's what I'm going to have as my final answer here. Why did I do that? I did that last time too. My last class. Put a plus. It's my final answer. Okay, there's nothing else I can simplify in this case. I'll make sure that you have it all written down nice and pretty. Let's not make noises. Let's make sure we're writing down. Okay. That's very weird. All right, 3. Here we go. I have my 4 pieces again. What color is the only one I can factor? The green. Thank you. Okay, out of all 4 of those pieces, you're telling me that the green's the only one, and you're correct. So remember, you can write all of them out because nothing changes. If they cannot factor, you just write them out. The green one is the only one I can factor. You guys are good at this, and I know that you can kind of remember it's difference of 2 squares. What's the square root of x squared? What's the square root of 49? So how do I write this out? And? Yeah. There you go. X minus 7 and x plus 7. Whatever the square root of them are, you put a plus inside and a minus. That's called difference of 2 squares. And then we can have some fun because this cancels. Give you a second to make sure that you got it all written down. Is there something else I can reduce? Can't really cancel it, but I can reduce it. Yeah. What can I do with the 4? What does it become? 2. Very good. Because look, 2 divided by 2 is 1, which that's what's technically going on up here. And then 4 divided by 2 is 2. One last thing we can reduce. Look, if I have 2 x's on top, 1 on bottom, 1 cancels, I'm left with 1. And where is it at? Yeah, very good. Okay, so this cancels, and I'm left with an x. Now let's take out our highlighter, and we're done. This is left. this is left, and this is left. You see how there's only 3 pieces left? The rest were all gone. My final answer is x times x minus 7 all over 2. That's it. Now, some of you would have liked to just taken that step and wrote them all out. You could have wrote out 2x squared, this, and then this as well, and then done it that way and kept going. It just depends on who you are. Some people like to write all the steps out. Some people like to just keep reducing like that. Okay, this one. Again, I have 4 pieces. Oop, that's not a color. I have 4 pieces. You tell me which one is going to be having to factor here. Yeah, the green one. So once again, everything else can just be rewritten. The green one is the only one that factors out of all 4 of those pieces. So that means I'm going to go off to the side though. So I'm going to have you draw an arrow kind of like off to the side. This is our side work. You don't have to write side work, but I'm letting you know. Because you can't like do all the work in one spot because that would be crazy for these types of problems. Who remembers when I make my mod table, is what I used to call it when we did this in chapter 6. What multiplies to what number? The 5, the negative 5, or the 4? What multiplies to what number? The negative 5, and adds to the middle term, which is the 4. Yeah, kind of. Watch your signs. Yeah, negative 5 and 1. 1 and 5 are the only numbers that work when you multiply them. So now let's go figure out the signs. It's kind of how I do this. Well, in order to make this work, did I mess that up? I did, didn't I? It was negative 1. Yeah. Yeah. So remember, we're trying to find 4. In order to find 4, I have to do 5 minus 1. So those are my numbers that I need. That's how I factor a trinomial. Now, how would I write that now that I know my magic numbers? I have them. Yeah, x minus 1 and x plus 5. From this point, you guys are usually pretty good at it. It's just getting to this point that's the hard part, especially when you have to do a factoring problem like that. I know factoring can be tough, but we got to keep pushing for you to get it. Eventually, it'll come fast. I know it will. You just have to keep pushing for it. I was kind of using an analogy because I know you guys all like cars, at least some of the guys do. Especially my 4th hour, it's like all I talk about is cars. You know, if you told me to go drive an automatic car right now, I'd be like, I have no idea what I'm doing. But if I kept trying to do it, I'd probably learn. Okay, but I know nothing about cars. I don't. Yeah, I was. Okay, but I know nothing about cars. So like to throw me into an automatic car, I'd have no idea. Okay, I might maybe like after a week I might get it a little bit, and you just keep making progress. That's how math is too. You have to keep practicing. You can't just be like, oh, just never gonna do it. Okay, so then this cancels, it's gone. Well, what is 8 divided by 4? 2, very good. So I'm gonna highlight what's left. If you notice, it's just gonna be 2x minus 1. Yeah, 2 more left, and that's it. You guys are actually moving faster than previous class. Now, what's nice about the right side of your foldable is it's the same exact thing, but only that one extra step, which is just to change the sign and flip the second fraction. So if you were gone yesterday, you should not feel so bad because you only missed one step. It's the same as the previous day. Okay, the only new step is to change the sign and flip the fraction. So we're going to do 2 problems, and we're going to do 3 and 4 because they're the harder ones. I want to make sure you have them in there. So we're not going to do 1 and 2 at this time. You can definitely go back and try them later. But when we see division, you can even highlight that so that you know. When you see division, you have to keep the fraction that we're starting with. So we're going to keep this here. change to multiplication, and then flip the second fraction. Whenever you divide by fractions, you have to keep change, then flip. So I'll give you a second to make sure that's written down correctly. Because from this point forward, it is exactly like we just did for the last 4 problems. This is the only new step, is just to recognize that you have to flip the fraction. It's kind of like KFC, but C's in the middle. I don't know why I keep thinking that. Okay. I have all these pieces. Tell me which ones are going to be able to factor. So the blue one, and what else? The 9 I can't do anything with. The yellow. You can cross out the X's. Yes, we're going to get there. But I mean like really factor. Like I have to factor this whole piece and factor this whole piece.
But you can't take out the 2 5x's.
Eventually, we're going to get there. So what do you mean by take out the 2 5x's?
Aren't they the same?
I can't just do this, if that's what you're saying.
Oh, you can't.
You cannot, no. Because here's why. Technically, I'm adding 50 to 5x before I divide it. So, orders of operations say, you basically, let's just pretend that x wasn't there. You would be doing 5 plus 50, which is 55, then divide it by 5. You have to do this piece first before you do the division. Okay? Good question, though. Actually, it's very common that people to do that. Totally understand that. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and put my big fraction. In blue, is there a number that goes into both of them? Very good. I'm going to say it a million times till you're blue in the face. When you factor out a number or a letter, it really means that you're dividing both of them by it. So when I do 5x divided by 5, I get, and then 50 divided by x, like 5, I get what? 10. So that was just a blue piece. In purple, I'm going to rewrite it because I can't do anything with it. There's no factoring going on. Same with the green one. At this point, you can cancel the 5s. You can't do that until you factor it out. Okay? If you technically, for those that are big thinkers and want to know this answer, you technically would have to divide 5 from both of them in order to do those crossing out that you were thinking of, which results into what we just did. Okay, now how do I factor this x squared minus 100? What does it become when I factor its difference of 2 squares? X. Oopsies. This is the one I thought you guys liked. Well, what's the square root of 100? Yeah. So what does this become when we do difference of 2 squares? Does it smell good? It feels weird. How do I write out my difference of 2 squares here? We're almost done. We got one more after. Push through.
X minus 10.
Thank you. And then x plus 10. Then we're like, okay, goodbye. That's gone and that's gone. And this is all I'm left with. So take your highlighter and highlight what's left. I have 9x squared all over x minus 10. Okay, make sure that's written down. Give it 30 seconds. And then we got one more, and that's it. Okay, let me ask you, and I'll scroll back up if you need that one if you weren't ready. Okay, now, this looks all very strange. What technically is this big parenthesis group all over? What? Yeah, all over 1. Okay, anything like 5, 6, 100 million is all over 1. Okay, because you can divide anything by 1 and it still remains itself. Now we do our KCF, which is our keep. We're going to keep the first fraction, change to multiplication, and then we're going to flip. So we're going to flip it over. And now we're back to exactly what we just did on the last side, on the left side of your foldable. And what's nice about this one is there's really not a lot to do besides one of them. What color out of all of them do you think we're going to have to factor? The blue one. Very good. Okay, we only have one more factoring left, and then the time is yours. So I'm going to go off to the side and do some side work here. Here's what I really need to know. Hopefully you're starting to remember from chapter 6. What multiplies to which number? The negative 11 or the 18? What multiplies is, yep, the 18 and adds to negative 11. It's always what multiplies to a times c, which is 18. And adds, yeah, very good. Not just 9 and negative 2, though. 9 and 2 are right. We'll talk about it. So 1 and 18 doesn't work. Then I had you guys do this, 2 and 9. Oh, it does work. But what's the only way for me to get 11, negative 11?
Negative.
They're both negative. It's okay, but you're really close. That's what gets most people is the signs. It's just the negatives here. Negative and negative. And then we're going to be done because watch, that's the only one I have to rewrite. Because I have x minus 9 on top with my 1. You don't technically have to write the 1. My 7. How do I write out what I just did here? My magic numbers. How do I write that? Beautiful. Because now look. Gone. And now we just say what we have left. I'm going to highlight the things. I have a 1 left technically on top. And I have my 7 and my x minus 2. That's it. You made it. Mic drop. Okay? Take a breather. I know it was a lot, but I wanted to make sure that you were kept getting some practice on this because we will be moving on Monday. Okay? So I'll leave that up there for those that are still copying down.